Hello and welcome to the StopDevaluation podcast. I'm your host and founder of the StopDevaluation movement, Melody Hilton. The heart of this movement is to see the value in all of humanity and live courageous lifestyles of using our power for good instead of harm. We can affect change by choosing validation over judgment, and I hope you'll take your place and make a positive impact in this world. Each of us physically and psychologically are wired to be loved and valued. But when love is withheld and life circumstances attack us, telling us that we do not belong, we are not worth another's investment, we are marginalized within the most important relationship of our lives, and fear shuts us up and isolates us, our ability to trust ourselves and others becomes a fantasy. The greatest gift we can receive is to discover our identity, our sense of worth, and have the ability to build that healthy neural memory, giving us the confidence to take risks and release the beautiful creativity on the inside of us. On today's episode, Niquio Benjo Valcobero shares his childhood hurts, disappointments, and fears, but also the power of the one who saw his worth and his potential, one who mentored and placed a demand on the amazing gift he held. And now he is using that gift to touch lives globally. Niquio, I welcome you to the StopDevaluation My Story interview. I'm so honored that you're here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Melody, for having me. I am so privileged to be sharing my story with you.
Niquio, I would just love to hear your story.
My parents owned several businesses and clubs and restaurants in Hawaii. And my dad was in the military, but he was constantly gone from our lives. Being in the military, he was constantly deployed here and there for 6 months to 2 years.
Wow.
So he was never around. And so growing up with my mom had to take care of the whole family. Actually, there was a time when I was a kid that, there's 4 of us in total, of all the siblings, of all the children. And we all had our own nannies. We all had our own, maids and people that took care of us as we were growing up because my parents were never home.
Wow.
Because they were taking care of businesses. And so we had a great childhood. However, at the age of 8 or 9 years old, my parents divorced because my dad ended up womanizing and started cheating on my mom. It was a crazy time because even as a child, I already knew something was going on. I remember seeing my parents fighting and their plates, like dinner plates, were being thrown on the ground because my mom was so upset. And then my dad and her would argue. And so that kind of caused me to wonder, what's going on. Even as a child, not knowing what was going on, there was a lot of confusion, a lot of fear going on, a lot of even rejection.
Yeah.
And I remember specifically at the age of 8 years old, I saw my dad. I saw him pack his bags. And I saw him leave. And I never understood that as a kid. I'm like, is he leaving again for the military, or is he leaving for good? And he left for nearly 2 years. I didn't see him for 2 years during that time.
Wow.
And he came back. But when he came back, he took everything with him.
You had nannies, there was wealth, there was all these things that people might have thought you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, and yet the basic core needs of what a child desperately longs for, you didn't have.
Yeah, it's material things are great. As a kid, having toys and all of that, it only fulfills a certain void in your life. But what I needed as a child was quality time
Yeah.
with my parents. I needed to feel loved.
Yes.
I needed that sense of being,
Yeah.
you know, and identity with my parents, them instilling who they are and my culture and all of that. And I didn't really get that as a kid. And so I was searching and searching and searching. And so there was a time when I saw my father leave our household, and I never got to see him ever since then. Since
Wow.
I turned like in my like late teens to my 20s, and I moved out in California from Hawaii in 2004, and I never got a chance to even see him during that time. And I've been in California for like 16 years now, and I've not. There was no birthday card, not even any type of greeting during the holidays, or even type of child support.
Oh
There was
my.
nothing. My mom, when they divorced, there was nothing that my mom asked from my dad, and he never once did offer up anything to help the family out.
Wow.
And so my mom kind of played the roles of father and mother for me.
So how did that affect you as you were getting older in your teen years or early 20s?
As I gotten older, like I started actually. It's funny because it's if it wasn't for music, for me personally, like because my whole family plays music. Like my mom, she sings, my sister sings, my brother plays an instrument. Like that's something that has always saved me
Mm.
from getting involved with different types of gangs, different types of like bad things that my mom would consider really horrible, like doing drugs and alcohol and any of those things. It was music that kind of saved me
Wow.
throughout all of this. Um, and if it wasn't from mentors and teachers that really showed love towards me,
Mm.
I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And it's really important because I mean, although I went to like a private school too, and I was being mentored by like amazing people, and especially in the arts department, it's 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 through creativity that's gotten me through a lot of emotional turmoils too, and having that bond with friendships and people that have one goal and projects to take on. It kind of like helped me not think about my situation so deeply. But at the same time, it was also a lot of performance
Oh.
to feel loved.
Mm.
It was constant performance or constant validation of wanting to be approved or wanting to feel significant. It was constantly wanting to feel the pat in the back, like good job, because I didn't have a father figure in my life.
Understand.
And then at the age of 10 years old, my mom remarried and I had a stepdad. However, my stepdad, though I'm grateful for him and the things that he's done for my family and for my life, he couldn't play the role of a real father for me because there was a bit of awkwardness in the beginning. Like out of respect for him, we instead of calling him by his first name, we called him uncle. And eventually in the teenage years, we started calling him dad because he deserved the title to be called dad. But it was a rough couple of years in the beginning because there were times when he had drinking issues too, and he would come home drunk.
Oh.
And I remember specifically, oh, I'm gonna cry a little. Um,
Oh.
um, I remember one time I was in, I was 11 years old. I was sixth grade, and we all had to do chores. Me, all my siblings, we all had different chores. But I had to help out my stepdad cooking. So I had to chop up onions, garlic, even whatever type of meat it was at that point. And I told my stepdad, I was like, Dad, I have to do my homework. I have a project the next day for school. Um, I can I not do this right now? And he was already drinking while he was cooking, and he was like, No, you better stay here and finish that up. And he held a knife towards towards my face in between of my eyes, Luckily, he didn't like hit me or anything, but he held a huge knife. He was like, no, pointing at me, saying, "You have to do this. You can't leave this there." And that I just stood still, and I got so scared
Oh
at
my.
that point. I mean, there were other instances too, like where because of drinking, I mean, we all had our own rooms in our house, like all. But there were times when he would drink and he would like knock on our doors, pounding doors. I literally had a bat in my room,
Oh my.
and just to protect myself. Although my mom protected us all, still, and she would call the cops on him several times. I literally had a bat just in case. So he would try to break into my door and like try to hit us. That was after like from like sixth grade on, and then he did change eventually, but those are moments in my life. I'm like, wow, I would have never experienced this with my own dad if he had been in my life.
Mm.
And at such a young age, I had to fight for myself. I had to fight for performance and to just be validated. Whew.
Wow. Oh my goodness. This is so painful down to the very core, not just of physical or emotional, but the very depth of how you view yourself, your very core identity.
Yeah.
So, were there individuals who just saw your value? Niquio is valuable, separate from his music, separate from all the things that you produce and do, but you as a human being are valuable. Were there any individuals that saw that on the inside of you?
There were actually, I remember one of my mentors, who was like a father figure to me. Um, it's amazing how there are people that comes across your life that will love you no matter what. And
Yeah,
so I had a mentor who was like a father figure to me, and he just started speaking words of life to me. He just started speaking words of of encouragement towards me, and saying that you could do this. Just focus on this, and just begin to just forgive those around you that have hurt you,
that's a big
because
one,
there's a
isn't
lot of
it?
wounds. Yeah, he was the one that told me about like the bondage like of unforgiveness. If
Yeah,
if you don't forgive people, you'll keep yourself in prison.
yeah,
And so that kind of helped me out even as a child. Like, you know, as my family was going through this whole like transition from my mom being married, remarrying again, to from like divorce to remarrying, and then I was going to school and hanging out with friends, but as a child who doesn't know where to go, who
right.
can't really talk to your parents because they're busy making a living for their families, it's kind of hard to like speak to someone at that point, even at such a young age, have an outlet of speaking to an adult or someone that they can relate to or just pour out their hearts to, because it's we they go through things, and I know I went through a lot of things as
Mm,
as a teenager, and so like when one of my mentors was a music teacher, and
mm,
I credit him a lot because he believed in me as a singer and as a musician.
mm.
And he would literally like right after school he would tell me, like, Keo, come here and let's work on your music. And it was all free of charge because he believed in me.
Oh. So you had a
He
music
believed.
teacher, a music teacher.
Yes.
The power of a teacher to have influence over a hurting young boy. I mean, if we would realize how our spheres of influence are our windows of opportunity to just generate value into someone that we can touch. We don't know their hurts. We don't know their battles. He might not have known all the
Yeah.
things you were going through, but he saw value in you. And look, today you
Yeah.
remember that. That is huge.
Those are the best years of my life of happiness too,
Mm,
and being able to be mentored by a concert pianist who
Wow.
works with choirs, who works with chorale, who works with all these big orchestra symphony type of like she's so prestige that to be mentored by someone like that, even
Yeah.
at such a young age, honestly, it made me feel really, really valued, and it made me feel really, really good inside that it took someone outside of my circle, outside of my family, to really appreciate the gift that I had.
Yes. And you're using
And
that
so
gift today. You're impacting a lot of people through your music. That is beautiful.
that was such an amazing moment in my life to have that with his name is Mr. Miyazawa.
Oh.
He's a Japanese American orchestral symphonic conductor teacher that was amazing that spent a lot of his time with me to really ensure and develop my talent.
Wow.
He would spend time with me and literally he would tell me, okay, Benjo, this is how it goes and this is what you should do. And I was able to just talk to him like as a son in a
Mm-hmm.
way, and he was like my father. And I would ask questions and he would give it to his best ability
Oh.
to answer them.
So, Niquio, how are you now generating value in others? How has your life experiences so shaped you in a good way so that you can impact your world for good?
Well, now what I do is that I go around different parts of the world now, and I teach. I teach vocals, I teach piano, I teach performance,
Mm.
live performance, and I teach about even acting. And it's all about, for me, it's all about the breath. It's what you bring in, even as an actor, the breath of performance, the breath of
Mm.
like being a character, or the breath of singing. And what we teach people is that when they go on stage, it's like, okay, I understand why there's fear. It's because a lot of the times when you see someone, for example, a kid trying to sing and he can't reach a high note, it's because there's fear there. It's like, okay,
Mm.
so the first thing I say is, this is a safe environment.
Mm.
Your peers are here. We're all here to support you. We're like family. And sorry, give me 1 second because I started crying.
Aw.
1 second. I'm gonna like
You
just like
recognize that when fear is gone, it releases the potential in someone, and that is huge.
yes. So what I see is that I tell them like, listen, you can do this. It's a safe environment. We're a family here, and you clearly have a gift and talent, and you have a desire and passion to sing or to be in music. And the reason why you're feeling like you can't reach that note is because like somewhere in your life you felt like your voice was taken away from you. But now
Mm.
I'm here to encourage you that your voice is here and
Mm.
that you can do what you want to do
Mm.
today.
You're believing in those that might not believe in themselves right at this moment.
Correct, yes. Having like Mr. Miyazawa, the teacher that believed in me the most at
Mm-hmm.
that age, he spoke words of life to me, and because of that, that remained even in my adulthood,
Mm.
even now. And I'm able to impart those words to younger generations
Mm.
and to kids that are passionate. And so, and then the other thing that I tell kids is that what lies are you believing, like, about yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you feel that you're not worthy? Do you feel that yeah, that you're not good enough to be on stage, or you're not good enough to feel loved? Because right now we gotta stop that thinking at this moment, and we need to literally re-emphasize and just say, you know what, you gotta declare this over yourself and say, you know what, I am worth it.
Yes.
I am loved. I am valued. I am somebody.
Yes.
Don't ever feel that you're nobody. You are somebody, and
Yes.
that you matter. Like having these positive words being spoken over oneself, it changes our mindsets
Yes.
completely.
The process you went through to change the way you thought about yourself, you're taking those things and you're making that investment into others. And you know the battle, you know the struggle, you know the difficulties. And so you're going into the thoughts of a person that maybe they won't express to somebody else, and you're saying it and you're dismantling it in their lives.
Yes. Correct. Yes. Yes. And then immediately you feel the confidence that comes back into them,
Yes.
and you see that they're feeling empowered.
Yes.
At the end. Yeah.
Well, before we close, Niquio, is there anything that you feel you really want to say?
Yes. Just remember, guys, that whenever you guys go through a situation, remember that everything shall pass, and that even if we go through life feeling hurt, wounded, like I said, this too shall pass. All of these things will come to a point where everything has to end. But in the midst of it all, in the midst of chaos, in the midst of the hurt, just accept. That's the thing that I've come to learn is the word accept. Accept the situation that we're in. For example, when you want something from a friend and they don't give it to you, or you want something from your father or your mother and they don't give it to you, just come to terms that, like, you know what? I'm going to accept the fact that I will never get this from my father, or I will never get this from my mother. But what am I going to do about it? Am I going to cry about it, or can I move past this and work on myself?
It's not what happens to us, it's what happens in us. And so you're
Yes.
making a very powerful choice to say, I have no power to stop what has happened to me, but I can
Correct.
make a choice of how I choose to respond to it.
Correct. Yes. Making that choice. Correct.
Yes. And you didn't allow your experience to continue to define you.
Yes. Because we all have a choice. We are not bound to our environment and how we grew up. It's a matter of wanting to be the change in the world. If I'm not mistaken, those are the words that was or a quote that was told to me that I've kept in my heart for a very long time.
That is
we're not bound to our environment.
Yes.
But we have a choice.
Niquio, I love you. You are a light in a dark world, and you have taken the difficulties of your childhood and you've become a voice of hope. You've become a generator of value, and you look at your life and you say, how can I add value to my world? And you are doing that. Thank you for being who you are. I love you.
Thank you, Dr. Melody. Thank you so much for your time.
I want to thank you for listening and encourage you to become a part of the StopDevaluation movement. Be sure to like and follow #StopDevaluation on social media, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and visit StopDevaluation.com for more information and free resources. You can help spread the movement by sharing with others, leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, and most of all, by living a courageous lifestyle of using your power for good. Go out and value someone today. Your life matters, and you can make the world a better place. One word, one choice, one action of validation at a time.